Hello and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood and you are listening to our preview of UFC 285, which is headlined by Ciryl Gane versus Jon Jones for the vacant heavyweight title, and with a co-main event of Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso for the women's flyweight championship. Tom, this is a stacked card, to say the least, and I've got a very simple question here. Should Jon Jones be let back into Vegas?
Well, Dana swore it should never happen. It's a bad combination. We only have an hour for the pod, so we can't go through his full list of prior misdemeanors. But he's quite the rap sheet in Vegas. And to that point, they had to bring in a standby for this main event in case Jon Jones gets up to no good and can't actually fight.
Yes, Dana didn't reveal who it was, but it has been revealed now that there is a backup. Hopefully we don't get to see him fight this weekend, but I would be excited to see him fight either of these guys at some point in the future. But we'll get to that in a moment. Tom.
It's Sergey Pavlovich.
It is Sergey Pavlovich.
And he will be fighting one of these guys eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you say, give the man time to prepare. Full focus for these two. These two guys are destined to meet, and we're going to get to see it this Saturday.
Absolutely. Right, listeners, me and Tom are about to preview the main card of UFC 285. We're going to make picks for each fight, and we'd pick who we think is going to win. And if we get that correct, that's 1 point. And if we get the method correct as well, that's 2 points. 10 points on offer. And I am the defending champion. I've won the last two cards in a row. Thank you, Justin Taffer. And thank you, Jamal Hill. And so Tom, he's feeling it a bit now. He's feeling the pressure. But is he inspired by the return of Jon Jones, his hero, his GOAT, and his return to the octagon? We're about to find out, because that's where we're about to start. Main event, Ciryl Gane versus Jon Jones for the heavyweight title. It's almost as good as it gets. It's almost as good as it gets.
Yeah, it's 95% of the way there, and we wouldn't even know about that 5% had it not been for the existence and reign of a certain Francis Ngannou, no longer with us in the UFC, but still holds a deep place in our hearts.
Absolutely.
Does take a little bit of shine off of this fight, but we've been through that in prior pods. We're going to move forward with what we have, which is a fantastic, intriguing matchup. 11 years in the making. Jon Jones is ready to fight at heavyweight.
He's finally bulked up. Now, actually, that's where I want to start. Jon has taken 3 years to bulk up to get to heavyweight, having fought at light heavyweight before. When he was fighting at light heavyweight, he was around about 220 in the 230 range, depending on which fight he was in. It tended to be in that range. And he's taken his time to bulk up. Now, do you think he's... Because there's a weird thing with Jon in this fight, is that there's a real unknowable about him. Is like, is he going to actually push the heavyweight limit? Is he going to weigh at 265? Because there's no way he's going to do that. That'd be a ludicrous thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about other heavyweights, not with a similar build to Jones, but you think about the guys who are pushing the heavyweight limit. There's two models of that. There's well, you already mentioned him, Justin Taffer.
Yeah.
There's the Justin Taffer mold.
Yeah.
So the how do we say, the bulk in its natural flowing glory. You know, so like stocky fellas.
Yeah.
Augustus a guy.
Yeah. Walt
men
Harris.
Not usually known for their cardio.
Yeah. Walt Harris, and then you have Francis Ngannou. Yeah.
Well, and Ciryl Gane, he's getting up there as well. Just absolute units.
Yeah.
True cut. Ciryl Gane, he's coming in, 245, 250. He's floating around that limit.
Yeah.
And he's lean, sleek. He's a true heavyweight.
Yeah.
Jones, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the build for that.
Do you find this like a weird way? Like, if you were his coach, manager, would this have been the way that you would have suggested it to him? Because I always thought that when he moved up to heavyweight, actually being on the lighter side of the heavyweight limit is where I would have thought he would have been at his best. But is he thinking, like, I need to bulk up so that when I go for a takedown or when I land a shot, it's going to have this extra weight behind it? Because, I don't know, to me, I always thought the speed was going to be his great advantage at heavyweight.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Joe. I would have felt the same, but it's about the evolution in that heavyweight division.
Yeah.
The modern heavyweight is a fast-moving athlete who can fight for 15, if not 25 minutes. It's not all about explosive power, but more that endurance as well. Now, the thing is, that means he doesn't have a necessary advantage stepping up and fighting Ciryl Gane. I don't think he's going to actually have the speed or movement advantage against Gane. So where's he going to find his advantage? It could be, as you say, in the wrestling game, where he's really going to need every pound, and he's going to want Gane to carry those pounds and try to sap him of some of his movement and athleticism.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the obvious game plan for Jones, isn't it? Is to implement a wrestling-heavy approach. I don't know if that's actually physically possible, though, because you see a guy like Curtis Blaydes, who is a natural wrestler, who has, in the past, remember the Volkov fight, where Blaydes just endlessly was taking Volkov down and gassed. Like, he couldn't do it for 25 minutes. It's too difficult of an approach. So I feel like if Jon is going to go for this wrestling approach, he can't do it for all 25 minutes. And he knows that. He knows he can't do that for 25 minutes. So at what point then, what do you mix into that then? Go on.
Yeah, well, this is where the questions of the fight, they really lie. I mean, Jones, let's just talk about how he's had this reign of dominance over the light heavyweights. What have been his key tools here, and will he still be able to carry them through the heavyweight?
The long legs, the long arms.
Yeah, it's the reach, all right? Well covered, longest reach in the UFC, 84.5 inches. And as you say, he's able to get every inch out of them, especially with his kicking game. For me, that's where Jones truly excels. He's never, for me, really carried the power in his hands.
No.
But the variety of kicks and the selection is what sets him apart from competition so far. So everybody knows the teep kick, that check kick, when the opponent loads up on the front foot to try to unload their own strike. Jones is there with that teep kick, which checks the knee. We saw him
hyperextends the knee and sort of
saw that happen to Reyes. Really, really upset him. And of course, there was a discussion at one point in Jones's career: should this kick even be legal? Such as the destructive power.
Rampage was the one who sort of started pushing that narrative, wasn't it? Of like, that's dirty fighting.
That and one other tool that Jones uses to measure the range and the reach, poking you in the eye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's always had this is the thing with Jones, is that he's a really nasty dude when he gets in there. Like, he's a really vicious
not
guy.
just when he gets in there. Jones.
Well,
to be honest.
All right. Let's. Yeah, okay. There's some stuff, obviously. You talk about this reach. There was also the other one that he did against Glover, which was when he basically fought Glover in just a clinch battle, and he would arm crank him standing up. It's kind of a bit of a dirty move, particularly in jiu-jitsu and grappling tournaments. It's considered a bit of a dirty move, but Jones implements it. It's technically not against the rules. So is he doing something wrong, or is it dishonorable? What do you really say about this? You mentioned the reach though. He's got a reach of 84 inches, but Gane has a reach of 81. This is the first time Jones is going to be facing a guy who is basically at the same sort of reach as him, who, I'll be honest, I think in terms of a kickboxing side of this fight, I don't think he's going to have really be that surprised by anything by Jones, apart from those low leg kicks. And it's not the classic low leg kicks that you really see. Jones doesn't really throw those. It is the teeps. It is that sort of teep to the body. And that, I think, is going to be really important for both of these guys. Because Gane also, a lot of his setups come through base attacks. So you saw it a lot in particularly the Tuivasa fight, where he would be standing orthodox and then you'd flick this kick just to the body repeatedly over and over and over again. He did against Volkov as well. That's the thing I really like about Gane, is his variety of shots, of where he lands and where he throws to. He does work the body, which, a lot of guys don't do that. Again, I'm looking here at the Volkov fight, 25% of the shots went to the body. That's a lot more than most.
Yeah, it's devastating, is what it is. Really upset Tuivasa, to the point where he was dropping his hands so low he couldn't take any more of those body kicks, that, of course, opened up a lot more options up top. Then he can come over the top with the hooks. as you say, he's got the reach as well. Very stiff, strong jab, which he kind of thrusts into piston-like for a heavyweight. Now, Jones isn't going to be used to that. Somebody jabbing him and then being back kind of on the edge of the range, back in safety.
Yeah.
It truly is a different type of test to Jones. Now, you mentioned him going to the wrestling. We should mention Gane's only loss in his career, was to Francis Ngannou, and it was via... a wrestling heavy approach, which came later in the fight. Really surprised us all. Gane, I suspect, hadn't given full attention to that in his camp. He certainly fought like he hadn't, because once he was on his back, Joe, didn't look like he knew a way to get out of it.
Okay, hold on. You're talking about Francis Ngannou, though, who actually outweighs Gane by about 30 to 40 pounds. So I'm going to say to you, Tom, even Francis Ngannou, with a bit of wrestling, I think it's probably quite hard to get out from underneath. Stipe struggled. Stipe's a better wrestler than Francis. I think we can acknowledge that in terms of like the technical ability. We've seen that. It's hard to get a man of that size off of you. The other thing is that the takedowns came off of strikes from Gane, particularly the high head kick, where Francis caught it and then just sort of like power slammed him to the mat, as Cormier said on commentary, the big Van Vader power bomb. And it was that. The thing, though, when I rewatched that fight, I mean, Francis signposted the knees, and yet Gane didn't throw to the knees, and his coach was just like, he's faking you. The knees aren't, those aren't the issues. I guarantee it's not the issues. And it turns out it actually was. Like, is there a weird thing that maybe Gane was like, I'm going to fight the honourable way here. I'm going to beat this guy who I've known and respect, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to beat him the honourable way.
Well, this was a part of his approach to the Tuivasa fight. His coach, refresh me of his name.
Fernand Lopez.
Fernand Lopez, yeah, out of Paris, of course, with the history with Ngannou as well. Fernand Lopez was on record saying, going into the Tuivasa fight, he wants to bring the monster out of Gane. You got to go in there, you got to hurt people. It's not just a point-scoring kickboxing match.
Yeah.
And he was highlighting in the Tuivasa fight that, you know, Gane took more risks.
Yeah.
And he was prepared to get hurt a little bit to get his shots off. Now, yeah, I think there was an element of that against Francis. That Gane's a gentleman. He's a very likable guy.
Yeah.
Hard to imagine that he really likes Jones in the same way. And obviously, having suffered that setback to Ngannou, I don't think it's going to be a big issue for him. You know, I think one or two eye pokes from Jones and Gane will be ready to hurt him.
Yeah. I think that's something that I really question about this fight as well on the feet, is that I think it could end up in a bit of a stalemate. Are you getting this impression? Because rewatching their fights, they're very happy to disengage. When they're not in position and they can see a guy coming, like, whoa, Nelly, hey, this is on my terms, mate, not yours. Like, Jones did that against Thiago Santos, did it against Dom Reyes, even did it against Anthony Smith. You know, he didn't need to do it against these guys. He probably could have waded in there and finished them. That was what I got from rewatching those fights, is that Jones, I don't think, was motivated in any of those fights. And he was just happy to cruise, like, particularly when he got to like rounds 4 and 5, where I'm like, all right, I can see this out. I know what I'm doing now. I can get through this. And it even came out, I mean, Luke Thomas quoted this. He spoke to Brandon Gibson, Jones' striking coach, and he said, why didn't Jones go for a takedown? And he thought, well, Santos has got so much power coming up the middle that I'm just not going to risk it. Like, I'm just not going to risk it. It's fine. Whereas, would a younger Jones gone like, oh, he's got that coming through the middle. Am I going to, when can I go for my takedown? Right, I got it now. Like, I felt like he was going to go for it.
There's some interesting comments from Jones about Thiago Santos, actually, in the reputation.
Yes. Do you have the quotes?
Yeah. Do you have it in front of you there?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so he basically said that Gane doesn't offer anything in terms of like speed and mobility on the feet or as a kickboxer, because he's fought guys like Thiago Santos, which I just found absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, he said he described Santos as technical and explosive, where it's like, he's definitely explosive. Yeah, explosive. Technical, no. I mean, if it's like, it depends on what your definition of technical is. Is it, agility, balance, setups, linking attacks? or is it he threw some spinny shit and it was fun? Like, do you know what I mean?
What, just explode on the centre line?
What's your favourite Santos exploding, like, through the centre?
It's probably Jimmy Manuwa.
Oh, I was going to go the Hermansen one. Do you remember the Hermansen one? The switch kick to the body, and then he's just hooks, running forward.
Just charging forwards. Yeah,
and then Hermansen was like, oh my God, get me out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get a list of commentators, and we copy down every word they say, see how long it gets the word technical to describe that. So very strange from Jones.
Yeah.
I got to say, now, Joe, my take here is when we see Jones and Gane on the feet, you say they've both got a tendency to disengage. They like to, pick their moments, pick their opponent, wear them down from the outside, generate the openings. I actually think Gane will outpoint Jones in that range. And I think Jones will become pretty apparent pretty quick. He's got to be going after him. I think Gane is harder to hit than Jon Jones. Now, Jon Jones has got a fantastic striking defense, but the movement of Gane is really, it's something else, Joe.
Yeah.
It's something else. He's so light on his lead foot, bouncing in and out, measures the range just perfectly. I think he'll cruise away from Jones in that range.
If it stays in that range, though, if it stays in that realm.
Which is why I'm saying, I don't think, you mentioned a stalemate. A stalemate means that Jon Jones loses.
Do you reckon? That's interesting.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the wrestling. My issue with Jones with the wrestling comes down to the bulk of, like, is he going to have the speed to get to Gane in an open mat takedown, Tom? I'm asking you this question directly. Because you need to have the speed and power to get to it.
I haven't seen much of Jones. Of course, we don't know at heavyweight. But what I can say is that in his last fights, I've seen a slower, more plodding Jones and a little bit of footage of him hitting some pads.
Oh, yeah. And it was put next to, what was it, the one for the Rashad fight?
I haven't seen it spliced up with that, but I think it would be quite telling.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, explosive and fast is not how I would describe what I saw from Jones. He was plodding. Absolutely plodding. Yeah. So I think that's a big question mark against Jones.
Do you think they put that footage out there knowing that people would react like that? Jones is there was a story, Anthony Smith talked about this, is that, like, Jones fucks with you throughout the week of the fight. Like, he's calling you up in the middle of the night on your hotel room. Like, he's messaging you. He's sending stuff to your room. Like, he's messing with you the whole time. Like, he's doing these weird things. And it's just like, yeah, but, like, is there a part of you that thinks that he's messing with him? Because, I don't know, man. He's, as I've said, and we talked about it briefly before recording, like, watching that countdown, he's a weird dude. He's a weird guy.
If you took the time to watch that countdown, you'll have seen footage of him with a dog.
The dog thing, right? Yeah.
And he was just relishing in the fact that he could choose how and where his dog would bite you.
Yeah.
And also that he had, like, the mastery of the dog to get it to stop.
Yeah.
Jon Jones is a scary, scary man. And I don't just mean that, like, this is a heavyweight dude. I mean, like, Jon Jones and his dog, late night, Albuquerque.
Drinking.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. That was...
The guy's got some serious issues.
Yeah, that was the thing I also took from... because I went through Jones's timeline as well leading up to it. So it's like, whenever he's been active, and I mean 3 fights a year, 4 fights within 16, 18 months, he doesn't have these issues that come out. He doesn't have these things. It's when he slows down. It's when he... he had the hit and run incident, and he was out for a year, and then he had these weird incidents that kept popping up because he is... I think he's got some weird disconnect, I think. Like, I mean, we're getting into some weird psychology thing here when I want to talk about the wrestling, but he's got this weird disconnect of, like, I feel like he doesn't have empathy for people.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't have any empathy.
I would love to see a psychologist break down just the way he talks about others, about himself.
There was about
God.
Yeah, there was a fascinating interview with a guy who was working with Jones on his strength and conditioning, who Jones sacked, and he basically tricked this guy into making a mistake and then fired him and yelled at him and embarrassed him in front of everyone. And this guy was like, basically, Jones did this thing of, like, oh, let's do, like, a water chugging contest because we need to get hydrated. And, like, they kept chugging this water, and he was just like, and guys were like, needs to go for a piss. And so guys were, like, going out around by the side of the house to go piss against the wall and then go back in because, the toilet was too far away because he wanted to just keep working. And this guy, he was just like, oh, I need to go. He's like, oh, no, hold on, I need you to do this with me. So he delayed him going for a piss. And in that time he delayed him, Jones's fiancée and kids had come home. And then the guy finally went out for a piss. He came back and Jon lambasted him for saying, like, you exposed yourself in front of my family. Like, my family could have seen that. Like, this sort of thing. And the guy was just like, whoa, what are you talking about? Like, that's where you send us to go piss. And he's just like, my family's in this house. And you do that. Like, yeah. It's really weird. And, like, he got sacked. And Jones even, like, acknowledged this. And he posted some video online about where the guys were going to show that they were going there. And that this guy went later to almost be like, oh, no, he waited to go there when my family was back. And it was like, it's a weird man, isn't he? He's a weird dude.
Joe, I mean, I don't want to stray too much away from the fight, but there's one other thing I want to add on this point. There is footage out there on the internet of Jon Jones at night running through Texas with a shotgun.
Yeah.
And you could splice that into any Netflix murder mystery and it would fit right in. Just this silhouetted figure, tall, lanky, kind of slender man guy, sprinting with a shotgun.
With a dog that he can train to attack on people? Yeah.
I mean, really.
All right, can I go back to the wrestling just quickly?
Yeah, well, I think we should.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get a takedown from open mat. It's going to have to be from a clinch. And it's going to have to be from blitzing Gunn back to the cage and getting a clinch from there. I think he's going to have to work a clinch game to get anything going. I mean, and also his strikes and also some dirty tricks in there, the arm cranks, that sort of thing. I think Jones is going to have to do that to get to any sort of wrestling approach. Do you agree or disagree on that?
I agree 100%. And Joe, I don't think he's going to be able to do it.
No.
I've picked Ciryl Gane to win the fight.
Yeah. How have you picked him?
By decision.
That's interesting. That's really, really interesting. I, about 2 weeks ago, I was thinking about this fight and I was just like, and it crystallized to me what I think is going to happen. And I just like, no, that's it. I figured it. I figured it out. And I saw some other people talking about it, and they were like kind of going on the same thing. Like, I'm onto something. And then just something happened this week, which was watching Jones and knowing he's back, and the character, and the fact he's such a sportsman and an athlete, and that he's a competitor, and that he's got this drive. And he wasn't motivated for those last 3 fights. And when he's motivated, this is a vicious dude. This is a very dangerous fighter and a very dangerous human being. And it's like something twinged inside me where I was just like, there's something about this guy. And then I clocked it's 3 years since his last fight. And he's bulked up 40 pounds of muscle. And he was getting slower anyway. And now he's facing a guy who's the absolute epitome of modern heavyweight MMA. Of Tom Aspinall. Of even, and I know it's a bit of a joke, but stick with me here, Sergey Pavlovich. Do you know what I mean? Of like guys who are quick guys. Ciryl Gane by decision.
My days, Joe. I thought you'd be a mark for Jones, and to be honest, I went to bed last night very confident that Jones was the pick for me.
Yeah.
I went to the toilet briefly before this pod to clear my thoughts, came back ready to switch my decision over to Jones and resisted the temptation. Hell of a fight. Can't wait to see it.
I think this could be quite a boring fight.
Yeah, but it's about the positioning. It's about what it means for the sport.
The drama of it as well. The heavyweight.
Of course. And hold on, I'm talking, brother. We're all about the drama. All about, or at least I'm all about the narrative. Yeah, it might be a little bit of a boring fight. Jon Jones fights, Joe, I'll be honest with you, they often are, especially of late. When he was the young rookie coming through, fighting Shogun Rua.
Yeah, but those fights aren't relevant now. He doesn't do most of that stuff. He doesn't throw the spinning stuff in the same way. He doesn't do these crazy athletic stuff because he's a man in his mid-30s now who's taken a lot of damage.
He's Ronaldo after he went to Real Madrid, you know? He's not a tricky winger anymore.
Oh, right, yeah. He's just basically like a cannon that you have to line up into place before it really works. Yeah. Let's talk about the co-main event here. Valentina Shevchenko is back, 9 months off from her last fight in which she won a disputed decision over Taylor Santos. She faces Alexa Grasso. Grasso's ranked number 4, I believe, in the flyweight division here. Interesting matchup, I've got to say. interesting matchup. Purely from the fact that Shevchenko has shown that there is a weakness to her game, which is the wrestling. If you have a wrestling game, you can take her down. And she's been taken down in every single fight she's had in the UFC. Alexa Grasso is a boxer. But she's a pretty good boxer for women's flyweight, I've got to say. She has really good footwork, really good sort of measuring of distance and ability to engage and disengage. And I think that she poses an interesting challenge of, can she basically, she's going to have to lead the dance. Shevchenko's going to have to counter. And how does she respond to those counters? Because we know what Shevchenko's counters are mostly, which is the body kick, 1-2 counter, angle off, lead hand hook, angle off. Body kicks, set that up for the head, for the high kick. It's not a complicated game plan in terms of what she's going to do. It's just more that her timing. Can you get into Shevchenko's timing?
Well, another key element we should highlight is her wrapping people up in clinches. Muay Thai grip and working her offense off of there. I think that's also when, not when she's exposed on the feet, but when she's got her offense off. It's kind of like boxing when you want to tie someone up.
Yeah.
You're at the end of your kind of combo, and she'll then tie her opponents up. Before we get into this particular fight, I just wanted to check back on that Tyler Santos fight. Do you remember how you had that one? I had it Santos
3-2.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with the Makhachev-Volkanovski thing of her taking the back and then Shevchenko doing the, like Volkanovski and Shevchenko did the shots over the shoulder.
The little rabbit punch.
The rabbit punch thing. Yeah, I again, not to relitigate the Volkanovski-Makachev fight, we'll do that again later this year when the rematch is set. Not to spoil my pick for Yair versus Volkanovski, but I think, getting the back and the back attacks and getting into that position is more valuable than reaching over and punching over your shoulder, basically. Anyway, sorry, Tom. Do you remember how you scored that fight?
Yeah, I had it the same. I had Tyler Santos winning that fight. I think you've already summed this one up in that Shevchenko perhaps does have a chink in her armour, and when you start to look down the rankings, women coming through.
Yeah. There's one... This is a weird thing for Grasso, is that, like, she could be the third Mexican champion this year. And that could be an incredible moment for Mexican MMA. It'd be a great moment to see this champion dethroned. But I feel like people want it to be Blanchfield. And, like, Grasso could really spoil this for the fans in a way of, like, she could have this incredible moment and whatever. But, like, we kind of want to see Shevchenko against Blanchfield, don't we? We want to see her against Tatiana Suarez if she stays at flyweight. I don't think she is. I think she's going to go back down to strawweight. But yeah, it's kind of an awkward fight in terms of timing, isn't it?
Certainly, yeah. People are looking past Alexa Grasso. Certainly the odds makers are looking past Alexa Grasso. She is the biggest underdog on the main card.
Yeah.
You get 5-1 if you were to stump up some cash for Alexa Grasso.
It's not bad.
For those of you who would be tempted by that option, what's her kind of key to victory? What might she be able to get off here to beat Shevchenko?
It's going to be the
over
boxing.
5 rounds.
It's going to be the boxing that she's going to have to use, and she's going to have to be able to disengage from her. I think this could end up in the same way of Jones versus Gane, of like two people disengage, like a counter striker, and then someone who has to lead the dance but is willing to disengage as well. Because I think really, if Grasso's going to do this, and she also has to be aware that Shevchenko's probably going to try and stop her mobility. The low leg kicks will probably become a lot more of a common attack for her in this fight because of Grasso's footwork.
What happens in this fight? Shevchenko, clinches her up and then catches her with a trip or with one of these kind of judo throws.
Yeah, I could see Shevchenko going to the grappling. I could see her going to that, in the same way she did against Andrade, and she just smoked Andrade on the ground. Like, it wasn't even close to being competitive. And I think if Grasso presses forward, that could happen, that sort of takedown underneath of a strike, that could happen from there. So then Grasso would then have to follow it up with knees. I think that's another thing as well, is that she can't just rely on the boxing. She has to show knees at some stage, even as just as a feint, to then open up the hands from there and to stop the sort of takedowns. And then trying to press Shevchenko up against the cage, that is going to be really difficult because Shevchenko does back up to the cage, but she's always got space to then back up and angle off. Like, she's never totally back up against the cage. And if you do get her there, I think body shots would be the thing to go for. Shevchenko by decision.
Yeah, Shevchenko by decision.
Right. Well, let's get into it. 2 fights here we're going to talk about in a moment. Banger Central, Tom. Let's get into this one. Welterweight division. I'd say boy light for us. Geoff Neal, Hands of Steel, is back against, well, what do you even call this man? A marauder? A beast? That's right. Shavkat Rakhmonov is back. Undefeated, 16-0, welterweight, fighting out of Kazakhstan here. This is a big test for both of these men. This is like, are you going to be facing Gilbert Burns, Colby Covington, Bilal Muhammad? Or are you going to be relegated to Neil Magny and Michael Chiesa?
Well, interesting that you should mention Neil Magny, the ever-present guardian of the top 10.
Yeah.
Geoff Neal already succumbed to Magny.
Yeah.
He failed the Magny test, and yet here he is fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov, and that is in no small part thanks to his knockout victory last time out in August of Vicente Luque. You remember the uppercuts, Joe?
What, the 10 uppercuts he threw in a row with his left hand? Hilarious. Hilarious. That's what I love about Neal, is that he does press the action, but he's so frustrating. Like, he's a strong striker, left hand dominant, but he's a headhunter. And when he finally threw to the body against Luque, it was like, oh my God, he's actually getting somewhere. He's actually getting it. And you could hear Saif Saud in his corner going like, throw to the body! Please, Geoff! Please throw to the body. Like, it was such a frustrating performance at times. And then when it clicked, it was bliss. Like, it was like, this guy's so good. That's the thing with Neal, is like, can he get it to click together?
Well, the other big win on his record, not talked so much about now, but a man who's gone on to be quite prominent at welterweight, is the win of the Bilal Muhammad. Do you remember that fight?
Did Geoff Neal win by decision?
He did, yeah. Back in 2019, this was.
Yes, I remember this. He just basically, Bilal couldn't get anything going off of the wrestling, and it basically got stuck in clinches.
Right, and it's these two components, a man who can put away Vicente Luque on the feet and fend off Bilal Muhammad, that makes him an interesting prospect at welterweight.
It does.
And hence why, we kind of let it slide that he did fail the Magny test. On the other side of the octagon, Shavkat Rakhmonov, a man who most certainly did not fail the Magny test.
No. Rakhmonov, I mean, when we go through his strengths, you just say everything, don't you? Like, but the thing is that, like, his wrestling isn't like lights out great wrestling.
It's the ground and pound, Joe.
Yeah, it's where these things get him to. Like, so for example, let me talk about Rakhmonov's weaknesses. Is that one of them? He can be pressed up against the cage. It's happened quite a few times where he kind of just gets like stuck there, or like, it's not that he's stuck there. He's waiting because he's waiting for. Let's say you've got him pressed against the clinch and he's got like a right underhook. He's waiting of like, all right, when am I going to get my right leg out so I can trip you up and then get on top of you? And he'll wait. He'll wait like a minute, 90 seconds of like, okay, you can work there. I'll just wait. And rounds could disappear that way. But it's when he gets those trips and he gets the ground and pound, and he has such a specific ground and pound that he really goes for, which is the sort of stacked guard, where like your feet are up. And like you can't really like get an up kick going because of how you're angled, and all you can really do to defend yourself is sort of get from like cover your head, and then hits the hellacious up above you, ground and pound coming. It's brutal, isn't it, from Rakhmonov?
Yeah, it's absolutely savage. I mean, you mentioned the weapons and where to begin. The man loves a wheel kick.
Yes.
And we love men who love wheel kicks.
Yeah, the Carlston Harris one, spinning hook kick to then the ground and pound, the stacked ground and pound from there. The only weakness that really will come from that is that could offer leg entanglements. Now, I don't think Geoff Neal will be going for those, but a Gilbert Burns would. And he has been caught in that position. Against Magny, he got caught in that position a bit. It wasn't close. It wasn't close, but it was still there. It was waiting to see if he was going to fall into that.
And the other big weapon I like, Joe, I like the step-in knee.
Oh, yeah. Great linear attacks. Yeah, step-in knees, yeah.
really, really hurts his opponent, and that, of course, opens up so many other options to follow on from that.
Yeah, he also does fight very long. Like, he fights at range, and it's like you have to break through that range to get inside, and it's so difficult. As you say, those knees are waiting for you there, spinning hook kicks, head kicks as well, like coming like sort of like whipping up, nice disguises on them. Just really good kickboxing as well. Slight problem, and I have seen this, is that sometimes he doesn't move his head if like it's in a tight exchange. So he'll throw and like he'll leave his head there, and he can get caught occasionally. I just struggle to see how Geoff Neal will break that line, basically, that's set by Rakhmonov's range.
Yeah, it's a big issue for Neal to overcome. Of course, if he can find his way inside, and Rakhmonov doesn't have fluid head movement, Geoff Neal will love that, Joe.
Yeah.
The man is a head hunter.
Yeah, as we saw in that Wonderboy fight that was so frustrating. Just throw to the body, Geoff, please. Like, it is so frustrating to watch him, isn't it? Like, he loves throwing at the head. God, it's just irritating sometimes. Tom, I've gone for Rakhmonov by submission.
Yeah, of course you have. You'd be a madman not to pick Rakhmonov to win this fight, just because of what we've seen so far. I went for a KO.
Low output from Rakhmonov, though, 2.54 compared to Neal's 5.27. Neal absorbs at 5.28, though, so it's basically 1 for 1.
So I'm hedging my bets there. Could be something wild on the feet, but I'm also thinking about that ground and pound show. I can't stop thinking about it.
Can we just quickly address the fact now? There was sort of like a fan-made rivalry made between Rakhmonov and Khamzat Chimaev at welterweight. Chimaev's coach was recently talking to Submission Radio, and he said Chimaev's done at welterweight, and middleweight is the move for him now. Now, are the UFC going to change their promotional sites from Chimaev at welterweight to Rakhmonov? Because I feel like they won't. Like, this is a guy who just doesn't have that personality. I mean, it's the personality I like, the Fedor cold killer, But
yeah, he hasn't lit the touch paper just yet.
No.
I'm not sure if this is the fight to do it for him either. Unfortunately, he needs the right matchup to bring it out of him. Still, look forward to seeing what comes up if they do a press conference this week. I really hope they do. I think they've got the fighters for it. But I did see the UFC has gone back to Kazakhstan with Rakhmonov. They put something out on their YouTube channel. So, there's time for Rakhmonov to become Khamzat-esque.
Yes.
Maybe like he's the light side and Khamzat's the dark side.
Yeah. All right. What would you rather see? Would you rather see Rakhmonov versus the winner of Edwards versus Usman, or Chimaev versus the winner of Adesanya versus Pereira? Oh.
I'll tell you the truth right now, Joe. I'd like one more fight for both of those guys.
Okay.
I'd like one more fight for both of those guys. Chimaev, if he's going to go up to middleweight.
I don't think they're next. Right. Either of these guys. Like, I don't think they're next. Right. But if I'm just saying, like, if they get into that position, who would you be more excited to see?
I'm not that excited about the prospect of Chimaev fighting Adesanya or Pereira.
You're not?
Not really. Not really.
That first round, man, it could be carnage. Like, he just gets shot out of a cannon, doesn't he? Like,
oof,
indeed.
I mean, I guess we're going to find out, Joe. It seems like these boys are destined for the biggest fights out there. So,
yeah, don't deny them either. Just like let them have these shots. Like, just embrace the fact that these guys are just so good. But as you said, I think Chimaev Whittaker is absolutely the fight to make. Like, that's it. Like, that is the test.
My beautiful boy.
Yeah. Well, oh, really? Oh, okay.
Let's deal with it when it comes up.
Right. Tom, before we recorded, I really struggled with this fight. Mateusz Gamrot steps in on kind of short notice, 4 weeks, to face Jailin Turner. He replaces Dan Hooker. Quite the change for Turner, going from Dan Hooker, the striker, to Gamrot, the wrestler.
Yeah, respect for not shying away from it to Jailin Turner.
Oh, respect to both of these guys, yeah. But Turner in particular going like, complete change of opponent, totally different style. Let's have it. Come on, Turner. That's what I like to see, mate.
Well, I think that speaks to his confidence, and the man has every right to be confident with his record since COVID, Joe.
I think this is also it's a great card. It's a great card to stay on. Like, you want to stay on the Jon Jones return card. Like, Dan Hooker's out, just like, oh my god, give me Sarukian, give me anyone, like, give me whoever you can, because I'll face them. It's like, that is absolutely the right angle to take. But yeah, I mean, Turner must be so confident. I mean, he's got a lot of subs, quite a few guillotine chokes, if I'm right to remember, no?
Yeah, he likes a guillotine. He likes an RNC as well.
I think what is most interesting to me in this is the height and reach between these two.
Yeah, I mean, Jailin Turner, we've got to highlight it right now. The Tarantula, 6'3" at lightweight. Oh, Lord.
James Vick-esque. 77-inch reach advantage. 77 reach advantage. 77 to reach over Gamrot's 70. Yeah, sorry, Tom. I interrupted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just speaking to where Jailin Turner is right now. I mean, he's just ran through everybody since February of 2020. But you've got to look at who he's ran through, though. Brock Weaver, Joe.
Yeah.
Uros Medic.
Yep.
Jamie Larkey.
Yep.
And then last time out, Brad Riddell, probably the biggest scalp on his record.
Yeah.
But the way that it happened, definitely not going to take anything away from Jailin Turner. But he kind of just, he fell into that guillotine Riddell a little
What?
bit.
No, he got rocked badly and then he fell into the guillotine. I'm sorry, mate, you need to give that to Turner. He smoked Riddell on the feet and then got the guillotine from there. Like, that, you have to give him that credit. Like, I know what you're leading to. You're kind of like talking him down in terms of the wrestling compared to Gamrot's wrestling. And I think that's fair.
Of course.
There's an issue for Gamrot, though. Is that Gamrot is a small lightweight. He fought featherweight for a long time at KSW. And in fact, that was his main division before going up and winning the lightweight title, I think in his last fight in KSW. No, not his last fight, his penultimate fight in KSW, my mistake. So there's that to contend with. I think Gamrot he's obviously going to be going for the wrestling. I mean, Christ, he's not going to stay on the feet with Turner. I struggle to see him getting a takedown from a body lock up against the cage. Gamrot needs to go for low singles, very low singles. And at what point does that open up for Turner is the knees up the middle. Like, that is going to be really important. Also, what's really important here, both southpaw for Gamrot. So that single is there. However, that hand is closer for Turner to land in from there. That foot is going to be right there for Gamrot to go for. Has Turner developed enough since his loss to Matt Frivola 4 years ago to withstand Gamrot's wrestling? I personally think yes. I think this is going to be a decision victory for Jailin Turner.
My God, Joe, you've lost your mind.
Hold on.
You've lost your mind. No. I can't believe what you've just said.
Yep.
I cannot believe
this is going to be a cracking fight. This is going to be scrambly as all hell. I think it's going to be madness on the feet. I can't wait for this fight. I've lent to Turner.
It's going to be 100 mile an hour.
100 mile an hour, mental.
Knows no other way.
Yeah. Gamrot doesn't know any other way.
What I can't believe about what you're saying here is you think a scrambly fight favours Jailin Turner.
No, I didn't say that at all. I'm just saying that if Turner can stop the takedowns, keep it on the feet, I think Gamrot's not going to let him settle on the feet as well. So Turner is going to have to, I think he's going to have to catch Gamrot at weird angles. I think that first round is going to be carnage. I feel it, man. I feel for Turner. I feel that he's going to get this. I think it's going to be a hellacious fight. Decision win for Turner. I was honestly debating this. This was the fight I was debating the most, and I had Gamrot decision for a long time before landing on Turner.
So much debate, and yet you've ended up with such a fundamental conclusion. I think 2 wins of the belt in a row has just blown your brain.
Well,
I think your young mind wasn't ready for victory.
What are you on about? I picked Jamal Hill to win, and that got me the win. And what else got me the win? Justin Taffer So if anything, you're the one struggling here, mate.
See, I too have seen shooting stars, but it doesn't happen every day, Joe.
Imagine if I do get this right, and this does happen and Turner wins. You're going to be absolutely crushed.
I'm not worried about that at all because my man Gamrot is going to be spamming shooting on single legs, chain wrestling. He's going to be on his knees crawling and chasing Turner all the way around the octagon until
that's
Turner
not good.
Falls like a tree, Joe.
He's not gonna. No, that you know what you've just said there. You've just described Derek Brunson versus Israel Adesanya. That's what you've just described there. Gamrot's not going to do that. Gamrot's too smart for that. I will also say that Gamrot is blind, like he can't see, like he's got terrible vision, and I don't know, man. I wouldn't be messing around with a guy like Turner.
I've got to say, my research hasn't gone to that level. That I just assume if you can't see, you wear contacts, or there's something you can mitigate that. Are you telling me that if you wear glasses, you're just done for? They just set you in there and you can't see.
Yeah, it's like Charles Oliveira. He can't see.
Wait, they don't wear contacts, nothing like that?
No, of course they don't. That's really dangerous.
I didn't know.
No,
I didn't know. Well, credit to my man Gamrot for overcoming that obstacle.
Yeah.
The good thing is. Jailin Turner is really big, Joe.
Yeah.
He's really big. You can't miss him. Gamrot will be able to see him, and he'll see where that knee is. He'll catch it, and he'll take your man down, and your man won't get back up. So I've got.
You don't think he's getting back up? You don't think he's getting? He's so mate.
I think
those limbs,
Joe. I think he's getting back up. I think he's making it difficult, but it's just so suffocating. Gamrot's approach.
Yeah.
Beneil Dariush showed us the way to beat Gamrot. He shocked us with his win. Probably shouldn't have been such a shock because Dariush, he's right there. But still, it was kind of like a breakout. Like, oh my God, he's really there. And the way you beat him is by just shucking him off, by out wrestling him. And I just don't see Turner being able to do that.
Turner's physically just so much different to what Gamrot's faced, though. And I think the body locks. I don't see much happening there. I can see the underhooks from Turner getting in there. That's going to be hard to get him down. And the misdirections from there. That's not going to happen.
You've called that. I agree with that. But you also called the fact that both southpaw, the single leg's going to be there, and there's your key to victory.
Yeah, but then that's why you show the knees up the middle.
Mateusz Gamrot winning by decision.
Fair enough. Now let's talk about this fight. Bo Nickel makes his debut against Jamie Pickett. Finally happens. The All-American, a lot of people said the best wrestler in the history of folk-style wrestling. Incredible record. National champion 3 times. Incredible. And I'm just going to say right now, Jamie Pickett's getting an arse whooping. Like, this is the Bo Nickel show. He's opening the main card, and it is the Bo Nickel show. People going like, oh, can he handle the pressure? This man has wrestled at Madison Square Garden multiple times. Multiple times. There is no pressure that this guy has not faced from a very young age. And from what I've seen in his MMA career, including his amateur fights, he's got some hands as well. But my God, when it gets to the ground, when he implements the wrestling, that's his world, and you cannot match him there.
Well, I tell you what helps you to have good hands, Joe. It's the absolutely suffocating fear of being taken down by Bo Nickel and the knowledge that he can do that at will. That makes it pretty hard to set up for any shots that come up top. Because any movement, any twitch of the fibre in Nickel's body, and you're thinking, he's shooting. Yeah. Now, his opponents thus far have not been able to deal with that. I think that's such a huge factor when you're fighting Bo Nickel, is that you've got to be on guard, ready to sprawl at all moments. And naturally, that means you're going to have to take the hands down. You're not going to take ideal positions. You're not going to take the same kind of risks. So it's exciting. There's a high ceiling for Bo Nickel.
Absolutely.
Gotta love what you've seen from him so far. Just pick your poison in terms of destruction. He's been whooping fools. These fools have not had Wikipedia records, so I can't tell you much about them. Jamie Pickett also has not got a Wikipedia record, but we have seen him in the UFC. Have you been impressed so far, Joe?
Of Jamie Pickett?
Yeah.
Why are you asking me this question? No, I've not been impressed.
Yeah.
2 and 4. He lost to Jordan Wright. I lost to Carl Dorcas. Come on, son. Tell me, this is his win. This is his 2 wins. Joseph Holmes, tell me about this man. Can you tell me anything about him?
I cannot.
And then Laureano Staropoli. Yeah, he's going on that UFC roster watch on Monday morning. Yeah, and I'm seeing that X next to him. Right.
Well,
Staropoli is now fighting in Fernand Lopez's promotion of Aries FC, and Joseph Holmes. Joseph Holmes, by the way, his Tapology picture, he's is him in boxing gloves. So not even an MMA fighter anymore. Yeah.
That's what Bo Nickel does to people, Joe. That's how good he is.
Here we go.
No, I mean, of course, yeah. Pick your poison. Bo Nickel by crushing victory. I happen to land on a sub. Myself.
Same here, sub. Do you know what, man? That last performance of his, I think it was his last one, where he got the triangle choke. That was so slick. Like, he got the takedown and rolled into the triangle, and it was too late. Like, the guy wasn't even like set in the position, and it was too late. Like, it was over. Bo Nickel by submission. This guy is coming. Get him fighting 3 times this year. He's not a heavy middleweight either, so he's not going to have a massive cut. Get him out there.
Well, let me say something I found interesting. He is on, him and Jamie Pickett, taking his moment in the spotlight. He is on the
Embedded.
Not just on the Embedded, but on the main preview. Like, it's
really?
What it's called.
Oh,
countdown.
Yeah.
He's on the countdown. Jamie Pickett's got his moment.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Look, let's move on, Tom. We're going to talk about the prelims. There's one fight I need to bring up because I'm worried, man. Cody Gabrandt faces Trevin Jones. Even in victory, man, I don't know what I'm feeling here for Garbrandt. Trevin Jones is about as easy a landing you can get on the run that Garbrandt's on, which is 1 win and 5 defeats. A crushing fall from grace from Garbrandt. And you know what, Tom? I did a bit of research, yeah, as I want to do, and I think I realised what Garbrandt's issue is. Well, he's got 2 issues. One, he has no chin. Okay, and then the other problem is that his reach is well below the average of bantamweight, meaning that all of his fights have to be inside. Yeah, he has to do inside fighting, and it has to be all hooks. And so basically, his chin has to back up his hooks, and he has no chin.
Exposed.
It's not good, man. Like, it's the Paulo Costa problem of like you can't fight at range. You can't fight at range, so you have to get inside. But if you go inside, you need your chin to back you up. And he just doesn't have that.
Yeah. Can't deny it. Of course, he does have tremendous speed.
Yeah.
I think there was a time you would have called him the man with the fastest hands in the UFC.
Yeah, people did say that.
Certainly after the Dominic Cruz fight, which will go down in Hall of Fame territory. Yeah. Just an absolute
10 out of 10.
Masterful 10 out of 10 display.
Yeah, 5-star.
He just looked a league ahead.
Yeah.
But that man is no more.
Yeah.
And of course, dropping down to flyweight, last chance to kind of reinvigorate himself, happened to run into Kai Kara France, who was exploding into the limelight at that moment, and of course succumbing to another thunderous knockout loss. He's shot, Joe. He's absolutely shot. He's washed, and the fact that he goes into this fight is just, relatively slim favourite against Trevin Jones really cements his fall from grace. A loss here, Joe, and I think he'd have to
a win.
Cody Gabrandt.
A win, and he should be putting the gloves on the mat. Like, if you're Garbrandt, you've been given this fight here. Do the right thing for yourself and for your family, mate. Like, and maybe this seems a bit preachy or whatever. I can't tell these people what to do, obviously. Like, but do you want to see this guy, like, he's got a win, right? Oh, Garbrandt. Adrian Yanez, mate. Yeah, do you fancy that? Yeah, get in there and face Yanez. Or, I mean, who can he even face if he wins? Like, hold on, let me bring up some rankings stuff. Like, let me see who he could face. Because,
well, Joe, you don't want to look at the bantamweight rankings in terms of matchup for Cody Gabrandt unless you're a sick freak, because there's no nice matchups for him there. You'd say no names, Joe. Say no names. You don't want him against Umar Nurmagomedov. You don't want him against Jack Shaw. We've already seen Pedro Munoz.
Douglas Andrade. The short little tank. That's what we're looking at here.
I wonder if there is for Cody, I don't know where he's at with his contract with the UFC, but I have to think that if he was able to get out of that contract, him going over to the PFL, him going potentially to Bellator, yeah, I got to think there's a market for Cody Gabrandt. The man's just 31.
Yeah.
He's still a big name.
Yeah, you know where he's going? Yeah, he's joining Darren Till and Bare Knuckle. That's where he's going. Like, never mind PFL. Oh, my days.
I'm saying the man needs to get paid. He still has a family, and yeah, the bantamweight rankings are not for you anymore, Cody. Which is just crazy. 31, done. Not got those big miles on the clock, but done.
Do you think?
Let me just push back a little bit, just for the sake of it, Joe. Now we well notified the listeners of his recent run. 5 knockout losses in his last.
No, Rob Font's the only one. Do you think Rob Font looks at that and goes like, I should have knocked that guy out? Look at all these other guys. Look at these jabronis knocking him out.
He worked
a flyweight.
I remember that jab coming crashing in, and Cody waiting for the shot that he put away Rafaela Sunsao with.
he kept like
dipping down for it. Yeah.
Rob Font's like, I watched your last fight, mate. I'm just going to take a step back. Like, I'm not a mug. I just don't think Cody Garbrandt's an intelligent fighter. He sees red and he goes wading in. I rewatched the Munoz one. I honestly, I watch it maybe about 5 times a year because it's hilarious. But like, he goes wading in and it's like, he starts exchanging hooks with him and there's 10 seconds to go of the round. Go to your corner, cool off. He's got no sense of time. He's got no sense of like ring awareness, craft, the fight itself. It's just, I got to get him back. I don't think he's got the fight or emotional intelligence to do this.
And yet he became the bantamweight champion of the world.
Well,
just 6 short years ago.
Well, it's because he had the right setup. He had the right setup. If you listen to the interviews, I think it seems like Justin Buchholz was quite a big component of that. He had he knew Cody. He'd worked with him for years, and he could see him in the Dom Cruz fight getting emotional, and he had a code word for him that he would yell to get him to calm down. And he must have been yelling it every 10 seconds, but
head movement.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that video of the Alvarez McGregor fight where it's just Alvarez's corner being mic'd up? Have you ever heard that?
No.
They're just getting 68, Eddie 68, Eddie 68, like 8 minutes, and then yelling 68, Eddie. Just nothing. But yeah. Anyway, let's talk about Dricus du Plessis versus Derek Brunson. Hilarious fight. Can't wait. What else is there to say?
I think this is a kind of watershed moment for
Dricus.
Well, I was going to say that, Joe, but I more meant for the end. I'm kind of mixing up my language a bit here, but for the end of Brunson. Yeah, watershed for his downfall. Basically. Right. He's gonna come crashing through, and he's really gonna face such an athletic du Plessis.
Yeah.
And after Brunson's last fight, where he looked anything but athletic, he looked troubled.
He looked old.
He is old. Father Time waits for no man. I think we're going to see this in definitive fashion here. Really nice one for du Plessis to get under his belt. Du
Plessis is so good at like catching people at the end of his punches. Like his punches are so long. Like you see guys like pull back. Like I watched the Tavares one, and Tavares, you can see Tavares like, I've pulled back, I'm out the way, and he still catches them. He's got such long punches and like just chaining them together. Can't wait for this fight. I think it'll be a nice. I agree. I think du Plessis is going to shine here and come through. Listeners, we're at an hour, but we need to talk about this. Darren Till's been cut from the UFC. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but he's been cut from the UFC. Yeah, right decision.
Right decision.
I mean, he's hinted. I mean, he retweeted Nick Pete, who said some fighters get cut and some fighters asked to get released. So I think Till may have asked for his release by the sounds of it, which again shows some awareness there. But we know what is coming. Darren Till versus Mike Perry, bare knuckle FC. Let's have some of that, mate. Come on.
Yeah, another man who's fallen from grace in spectacular.
No, he hasn't. Perry's done all right for himself. He's found his niche.
Darren Till.
Oh, sorry.
No, there was never. Mike Perry never was in any grace. Grace and Mike Perry are two sentences that will never meet again on that Venn diagram.
Fair enough.
No, I meant Darren Till, of course, much hyped at one point, and it's been a struggle to let go of that hype, but any hype that remained was crushed brutally in that loss to Duplessis. So, yeah, happy to see that. To be honest with you.
He's not a middleweight. He's not big enough for a middleweight, is he? Like, he's just caught in this weird position of, like if there was, like, a 175, 178 division...
Well, there should be. Don't get me started on that, Joe. There should be a 165 and a 175. But those days, it's too late for Darren Till anyway. He needs to find pastures new.
I saw some people going like, well, he could go to Bellator, he could go to ONE. And it's just like, have you seen the Bellator champions, Johnny Eblen? He would smoke Darren Till. And Reina Derrida takes people down at light heavyweight. Like, and the one middleweight weight is 195. Like, he's got no hope against someone like Reina Derrida. Like, it's just... I think Till should cash in on his name, get, like, 5 to 10 big fights outside of this, do some of that celebrity boxing nonsense. Floyd Mayweather just fought at the O2 Arena, sold 5% of the tickets there against some Geordie Shore guy. Just taking people's money, Floyd. Good for him. Till should get in on this. Do some bare knuckle. Face Perry in England. Perry faced MVP in England. They sold out Wembley Arena. They could do that easily. There's options out there for him.
I think so. I certainly know a man. Jake Paul would be interested in a potential.
Oh, yes. That would be good.
It's intriguing. And it fits the profile for Jake Paul, obviously trying to come off his loss to Fury. I know we said we weren't going to talk about it, but here we are.
Yeah. You texted me on Sunday after you'd listened to the Sunday
Don't
post.
Don't out me, Joe.
And you
Don't
said,
out me.
You said, are you going to watch Paul versus Fury? And I was just like, yeah, maybe. Why? And he said, like, it's got me. I'm intrigued. I'm in. Like, I don't know what happened to you.
Yeah.
Had you been drinking?
Away at me. I'll say it's a combination of Jake Paul's announcement that he might be going to PFL, and then also a bit of coverage from Mixed Molly Opry. I'm all about the hype. I'm all about the narrative. So yeah, this was a kind of first step in him like legitimizing himself as a fighter, and he comprehensively failed to do so. He was totally outboxed by Tommy Fury, who's clearly quite a limited boxer. With nothing more than a jab. So
yeah, I mean, when
closes that book.
It took Fury 7 rounds to realise, I can throw an uppercut at some guy who's ducking his head down to his waist. Like, I by the way, I'm intrigued by a rematch if it's in England. Do you know what I mean? O2 Arena, bunch of Essex lads all on the roids and chisel up their nose like oh man, the atmos would be incredible. Jake, mate, if you want me to cover that for press, give me press accreditation. And by the way, Scott Coker, sort out my press accreditation for you, Bellator Paris. Yeah, I want to see Mansar Barnui in the flesh. Give it to me. Right, listeners. Right, what were our picks? Let's go through the main card again. Me and Tom made picks for the main card. Starting at the bottom, Bo Nickel by submission over Jamie Pickett.
Yeah, unanimous in that.
Absolutely. Mateusz Gamrot versus Jailin Turner. I've gone for Jailin Turner by decision.
Yeah, you've lost your mind there, Joe. It's Mateusz Gamrot who's going to win that by decision.
Geoff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. I've gone for Rakhmonov by submission.
It's a KO here for Rakhmonov.
Ground and pound, I'm assuming.
Ground and pound.
Women's flyweight, we've both gone for Valentina Shevchenko by decision. And in the main event, Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane for the vacant heavyweight title. Gane by decision for both of us.
You've surprised me there, Joe.
Do you think I was going to go for Jones?
Yeah, I thought... I was going to go for Jones last night. So
10 minutes before we started recording, I had Jones. And then I'm like, but I was so certain on Gane a week ago. I have to stick with that. So, Ciryl Gane by decision. Listeners, we'll be back next week to talk about the card. Hope you enjoy it. Contact us at holdonbrother69@gmail.com. Leave a comment what you think is going to happen in the main event on Saturday, and if any other fights stand out to you, who you think could be a breakout star, and what you think might be the fight of the night, because I actually genuinely do think Turner versus Gamrot will be a stonker of a fight. Tom, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Joe.
And listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, I'm slightly losing it. We've gone over an hour, which is not normal for us.
You've lost the plot, Joe.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye, bye.